Hello everyone, Charcoal here, and welcome to another discussion video. Today we're continuing my Wings of Fire Arc 1 review series, where I work my way through the first 5 books of the series for the first time in almost a decade and give my thoughts on them, all leading up to a big video where I take every book in the main canon and rank them all. At long last, we've come to the final book of the arc, Book 5, The Brightest Night. With the Nightwings dealt with and the Rainwing prisoners saved, all that's left to do is finally stop the War of Sandwing's succession. Let's find out how well they did it. Once again, the prologue here is nothing special. It shows us the moments leading up to Oasis fighting the scavengers who stole her treasure, and we all know how that ended, but I do like how it hints that Blister might have let Oasis die as part of a larger plan, which will come back later. As for part 1, it's pretty solid. I went into this expecting not to like Sunny that much, but I was very pleasantly surprised. The main thing she struggles with is that the Dragonets of Destiny don't take her seriously. She's just the baby of the group to them. And looking back, I remember this being set up in the previous books. There are some moments where Sunny tries to contribute an idea, but the rest of the group talks over her and either does something different or someone else suggests the same idea and they listen to them.
Maybe we could go underwater?
What if we went underwater?
But now Sunny is separated from the group, freeing her up to do her own thing and demonstrate how smart she can actually be. Something else I really like is how Sunny is reacting to the news of the prophecy being fake. Sunny was the Dragonet who believed in the prophecy more than anything, and I think it's because she spent her whole life being put down by others. The prophecy was her one source of hope that she would be destined for greatness no matter what everyone else said. She was able to ignore everyone's comments by clinging to that hope above all else, but now the truth is out. Her only foothold is gone and her insecurities are flaring up because of it. It's pretty interesting. Once we reach the Scorpion Den, we meet the best Sandwings in the whole series, Six Claws and Kibbley. They don't really do much in this book, their standout moments come way later, but this is where we see them for the very first time. The Scorpion Den itself is a pretty fun location. It's refreshing to explore an actual town instead of being thrown straight into a kingdom's palace right away. Thorn I don't really have any strong feelings on. Her introduction is pretty heartwarming, but that's about it. And right when it was feeling like this book was about to fall into the dark secrets trap of spending way too much time on nothing and meandering around, Sunny is thrust into a hostage situation. Great way to keep up the excitement, and Sunny's agency in the plot is still there by having her willingly trade herself for Ostrich. Part 1 was some pretty fun setup. Let's see what happens in Part 2. The book started out so strong too. Part 2 is still okay, but there are so many little things that bug the crap out of me. Sunny is brought to the Sand Palace and meets Smolder, and the book does a decent job of selling how menacing the place is, but we're back to Sunny just being dragged around as a prisoner and not doing anything. When the Outclaws show up to break her out, we get Peril and Scarlet's first in-person appearances since Book 1, which is fun and a good setup for Arc 2, but they really came out of nowhere and don't do much for this book. Also, Smolder made it very clear he intended to either capture or kill Sunny to save his own hide, but Thorn is having him escort them back into the palace they just escaped from, and then Smolder locks them in the library. He leaves 2 dragons, one of whom is widely known as the most infamous and cunning crime boss in the desert, the other of whom is one of the most valuable bargaining chips on the entire continent right now, and both of whom can breathe fire unguarded in a room with a wooden door. What the f*** did he think was going to happen? Of course they'd break out. The reveal that Sunny is a hybrid definitely caught me off guard as a kid, especially when they tried to subvert it by dropping hints that Sunny's egg might have been cursed, but now it's like, duh? Why else would Sunny look so different? And the meeting with Stone Mover is nice just because it answers our questions about where Sunny came from, but it doesn't really serve the story besides that. And once that's done, Sunny gets accidentally dream visited by a scavenger and learns where to start looking for the Eye of Onyx. We learn years later that this scavenger was Ivy. Calm down, Char. You'll have plenty of time to rant about Dragon Slayer in the ranking video. Human involvement aside, I still hate this scene. It's way too convenient. What are the odds that Ivy happens to accidentally fall into Sunny's dream and unknowingly drop plot information on her head at the exact time Sunny needs it? That's the definition of lazy writing. Part 2 was kind of a mess. I feel like a lot of what happens here could work if it was given another draft or two. A lot is riding on Part 3 now to bring this book to a good conclusion, so let's take a look. Here we go, the big final hurrah for the arc. The first scene here isn't that good, it's just there to give Sunny the third dream visitor, which I already said is too convenient, but the rest of the book, save a couple details we'll get to later, holy crap, I love it. First of all, Sunny finally stands up for herself to the others. Great character moment, and I'll talk more about that in the final thoughts section. The sequence of the Dragonets finding ways to contact the Sandwing sisters was really nice. The Talons of Peace are finally caught up with everything that's been happening, Tsunami and Riptide have a nice little reunion, and Clay gets a very touching reunion with his siblings. It really feels like everything is coming full circle, reminding the reader of everything our heroes have been through to give the finale some extra oomph. Speaking of the finale, it's really solid, but I still have some issues with it. With all three sisters finally in one place, the whole thing really carries that suspenseful feeling of holy crap, this is it. But I feel like it's over with way too fast. The sisters show up, and then Blister kills Burn almost immediately with a snake in a box. And then, oh no, Clay gets bitten by the snake too, because of course he does, and Peril Ex Machina comes out of nowhere to save him. And it turns out the Eye of Onyx was buried with Queen Oasis right next to the palace all this time, because I guess nobody double checked her body before burying her. I wish this scene was longer to give the sisters more time to shine. Between everyone arriving and Thorn being declared queen, that had to be, what, 20 minutes? Not even? But even though it's over pretty quickly, part of me is okay with that. Thanks to some hints dropped throughout the book, the reader pretty much knows this isn't where Wings of Fire is ending. Far from it. As a finale to this arc, the climax still works fine. And that last scene in the epilogue, all the Dragonets of Destiny together for one last time, reminiscing on everything that's happened and looking forward to what's to come, I'm not even joking when I say I very nearly shed a tear. It wasn't a perfect ending, but above all else, it was satisfying. And that's the main thing I was looking for. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm gonna say it, The Brightest Night is my favorite book from the first arc. Let's start by talking about Sunny. I really like Sunny in this book. The Dragonets of Destiny had their whole lives dictated by others, and with the main thing that made them special turning out to be a hoax, they can finally live for themselves. But the whole continent is still relying on them to stop the war, so now they have to do it in their own way. This is a story that was told through Sunny. Like I said earlier, she was always pushed around and never taken seriously by others. She never got a chance to show what she can do because her blind faith in the prophecy kept her complacent. But now that safeguard is gone, and with Sunny having her own little solo adventure, she can finally show how resourceful she can really be. So when she reunites with her friends, she has her confidence back enough to go through with her plan to stop the war her way, which turned out to be the right choice. The book as a whole is far from perfect. It had a really strong start, a pretty messy middle section, and a solid ending. I enjoyed reading it a lot, and I would happily go back and read it again. Hell, it nearly made me cry, the first time Wings of Fire has done that in a while. But there are so many little things, little bits of contrivance or lazy writing that I have to dock at a couple points. I really want to brush them off as nitpicks or me just not being able to stretch my suspension of disbelief very far, but I can't ignore them. Still, I feel The Brightest Night is a great book. 8 out of 10. The same score as Book 3, but between the two of them I can confidently say Book 5 is better. But now that we've finished all 5 books, it's time to answer the same question I asked about the other 2 arcs. How good is the first arc actually? Well, it's just that. It's good. Averaging together the scores I gave each book, Arc 1 gets a 6.6 out of 10, which is solid. I can definitely say I still prefer Arc 2, but revisiting Arc 1 over this past year was really fun. This was Wings of Fire's humble beginnings. The first arc walked so later ones could run. And even peeling away the nostalgia, it's still pretty good. Time for fan art. Today we have pieces from Gwen, Bloodworm, Ezekiel, Dickheadsy, and Munch Canoe. Thanks a bunch, guys. This has been Wings of Charcoal, and I will see you all in 3 weeks' time for the biggest video I have ever made. Get ready.